Okay, my first counsel to you is please read your textbooks. In your textbooks, there's a lot of information that Mrs. Choi has compiled on various aspects of healthful living. Especially in part 1 of the textbook, you have explanations about fasting, about healthy eating, about recovery meals. So you can look at that about healthy cooking principles as well. So you can look at that as a reference guide, study it, look back, and if you have questions, you can, contact us too, even after the seminar is over. The second book to read is a book by Ellen White called Counsels and Diets and Foods. And we heard that the Thai translation is almost finished, so you'll have this book available. So a lot of what Mrs. Choi has been teaching us is what she learned and implemented through this book, and also the second book, Ministry of Healing. So these are some good resources so you can continue learning and continue implementing good health principles. Now, the other day, I told you that there were 2 things that we really need to avoid doing for good health that many people do. Number 1 is overeating. Can anyone remember what the second thing is? Anybody? Eating between meals. Don't eat anything between meals, only drink water. Now, sometimes people have the problem of overeating when they are overweight, right? But sometimes people who are underweight have the problem of overeating as well. People who are underweight, who are very thin, they think that they need to eat more in order to gain weight. But actually, overeating causes the opposite effect in people who are too thin. It will cause them to continue to be underweight. So you need to eat enough. Remember to chew really well. We can't say that enough, right? So you can get all the nutrients broken down so that they can be absorbed in your body. So for people who are too thin, some people ask, what can we do? Number 1, we have to know our bodies and know how much we need before we overeat. Okay? Number 2, make sure you have a balanced meal. Make sure you have enough proteins, enough healthy fats. Then number 3, there are some foods that are helpful for people who are really thin. For example, durian. I heard that when people are kind of thin or they're weak, when they eat durian, it helps them. So if that's helpful for you, you can try that. Or avocados, nuts. Make sure to add that to each meal. So the balanced meal. Shall we review one more time the 5 elements of the meal? Okay, my good students, let's say we've got our plate here. Who can tell me what are the 5 elements that we need to have in our meal? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to make this my 40% section. And I'll make this my 60% section. Okay, we've got grains. Good. What else? Vegetables, okay. What else? Okay, nuts and seeds and? Okay, so let me break it down one more time. So we've got the grains that are including the complex carbohydrates, carbs. So we've got the rice, plus we've got also, I'm just gonna put this here, protein, as well as the good fats. So the grains, the proteins, and fats should compose 40% of the meal. And then 60% of the meal should be composed of vegetables. And what is included in these 60% that are vegetables? First we have a main cooked dish. And we said that it could be soup or some kind of cooked vegetable. Then number 2, anyone know? A simple cooked vegetable. And then, number 3, salad. Oh, I guess we have 4 things, sorry. And then, something raw. Okay, remember, salad is something with a sauce, and then we have something raw. Today we're going to be talking about what these raw things can be and the difference between vegetable fruits and tree fruits. Okay? So keep this in mind. This is a composition of your meal. So I guess this grains will be number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements on your plate for each meal. Okay, so we talked a little bit about whole foods and plant-based. Oh, this one's hard too. Yes, please. It's not really erasing well. Might have to write on top of these things.
Sorry, I want to see. I will give news. I'll try this.
You can speak while I'm doing this.
Okay. Does that work? Not really. Okay. Okay, somebody with muscles and some kind of cleanser. Okay, so while they're working on that for me, I will continue talking. So we talked about whole food, plant-based. Now, these 2 elements are very important. Number 1, whole foods. Did I explain this last time? Not much, right? Okay. Whole foods and plant-based. So the whole food means it needs to be the entire food. So that if it's rice, we eat the brown rice because it includes the husk and the endosperm. Now I remember the word. The endosperm in there. If you eat just white rice, it's taken out the husk. Thank you. Taken out the husk, taken out the endosperm. Okay, it's not the whole food. And you guys know how to eat sugar cane, right? So if you squeeze out the sugar cane and you get the juice, then you drink a cup or a bottle of juice, how much sugar cane do you need in order to have that much juice? Maybe several long meters to get that amount of juice. But if you were able to take the sticks yourself and chew on it, the amount of time that it takes for you to chew on it, by the time your jaw gets tired, maybe you will have consumed maybe this amount of the sugar cane juice. So you see, it's much better to eat the whole food than eat something that's been squeezed out, pressed out, or with some part of it eliminated. So we said again, fruit juices are not the best for you. Why? Because it's not the whole food. You get rid of the fiber, and so you're missing a very important element that slows down the spikes in the sugar in your body. How about dried fruits? Now, in this country, there are a lot of delicious, sweet mangoes. Now, if you were to eat mangoes, you might be able to eat 2 whole mangoes and you say, okay, my stomach is satisfied. But if you start eating dried mangoes, how many can you eat? Oh, you can eat a lot. You can eat a whole bag. And if those dried mangoes if you had seen the dried mangoes before they were dried, they were probably maybe 5 big mangoes that's been dehydrated to be put into that bag. And so you consume a lot more calories, a lot more sugar than you normally would if you would eat the whole food. Okay? So whole food, plant-based. So plant-based means anything that God has created for us to eat, whether they are the vegetables or herbs, the fruits, nuts, and grains. So we're clear, right? That plant foods do not include any type of animals or animal products. So if you ever have a question about what we should eat, think whole food, plant-based. Now, I mentioned briefly last time about health food versus vegetarian food. Now, if we've got the whole food, plant-based foods, we've got a dish that has vegetables in its natural form, unprocessed. Health food is natural and unprocessed. But some vegetarian food may still be vegetarian. It may not include meat, but it could be still processed. So those kinds of foods we limit. For example, tofu. It's a processed food. It comes from soybeans or other types of beans. So we eat just tofu once in a while, maybe like once every 2 days or so. And there are also things like veggie meats. They create soy-based or bean-based fake meats. And so because those are processed, if it's much simpler in the process that it's made, maybe it's a little bit better to digest than those that are processed really in a complicated way. For example, there is something called TVP, and it's like this dried soy-based meat. So and it's dry, and all you have to do is add water, and then it swells up, and then it kind of has a texture like meat, and you could put it in various dishes. That seems pretty simple, so maybe not too harmful for your health. But then, in America at least, we have these veggie meats in cans. And there's all sorts of things that go into them, and it's highly processed. We want to really limit the amount of processed veggie meat that we use in our cooking. Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb.
Okay. You have a question?
You were saying the other one is very simple. I think the tofu is also made very simple.
Yes.
Because I saw how they made it.
Yes. Making tofu is a simpler process. So yes, I would say tofu and TVP are maybe more similar as far as simple. But the veggie meat that are in the cans and some that are frozen, some of those are highly processed. So those that are highly processed, eat less frequently. Also, noodles. There are some noodles that are highly processed and some that are simpler. And so the ones that are made like the mung bean noodles or potato starch noodles, flour noodles, don't eat them so often. They are processed. All right, I want to say one thing about nuts. So some people say, wow, nuts are so expensive. Think about it like this. You're not eating meat anymore, and so you're saving a lot of money by not eating meat. And so with that money that you save, you can invest in buying something healthy and natural, nuts. I mean, not all the money that you spent on meat is going to go towards nuts, but some of that money, okay? And you don't eat a lot of nuts. We shouldn't eat too much because it's high in fat. For example, if in a meal you don't have any beans or nuts, you can take about 6 to 8 almonds or 6 to 8 pieces of walnuts. Walnuts are a little bit bigger, so maybe a little bit less of a quantity. Or in order to supplement the meal, you might have just 1 spoonful of peanuts, raw peanuts, and pumpkin seeds. Just 1 spoon. We don't need a lot. So, paying for nuts, paying for healthy foods is much cheaper than having to pay for your hospital bills if you get sick. So think of it as an investment. I want to also touch today on people who have stomach problems, digestion problems, especially with ulcers. There are a few people here who have this kind of problem, but as you may have heard, when we were in Chiang Mai, almost the majority of the people had stomach problems. We're not sure exactly if it's a diet or other reasons, but we encountered that. So you may have heard how to deal with stomach ulcers, so I want to just repeat it one more time in detail so you can know how to help yourself and how you can help other people. Now, stomach ulcers are formed, it's like a wound on the lining of your stomach. So imagine there's that wound for various reasons, whether you ate a lot of spicy foods or whether you had a lot of stress, you can have this wound inside your stomach lining. And then when you start eating spicy foods or other bad foods, then it starts exacerbating the pain there. Now, another problem with people with ulcers is that they don't eat meals regularly on time. People who eat meals on time have trained their stomachs to know when to expect food. So if you follow the schedule, 8 a.m. for breakfast, 1 p.m. for lunch, 6 p.m. for dinner, a small dinner, then your stomach expects it. And about 30 minutes before the meal, the stomach acid starts to be produced and your stomach is getting ready to accept food and digest food. But now people with ulcers, they eat anytime maybe. Some people who have this problem may eat anytime and their stomach doesn't know when to expect the food. And so it produces the stomach acid in wrong times. And when that stomach acid flows out and it touches the wounds, it hurts. So a lot of times people who are recovering from the ulcers, they're fine when they eat some fruit, they're fine when they eat some porridge, but when their stomach is completely empty, it hurts. If they drink some water, okay, the pain subsides for a little while. But when the stomach is completely empty, because the stomach acid starts to flow, they have a lot of pain. And so that's why when people have stomach ulcers and have that pain, we give them the charcoal olive oil mixture. And what kind of olive oil is it again? 100% extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. I want to reiterate that because there are so many olive oils that are mixed with processed oils. Okay? So with that olive oil, you can take 1 teaspoon of olive oil, of 100% extra virgin cold pressed olive oil, and then take 1 teaspoon, so 1/3 of the amount of the oil, and mix it in there together. Now before you take this olive oil charcoal mixture, you can drink water 30 minutes before. Okay? Take a glass of water, drink 30 minutes before, wait, and then you can take the olive oil charcoal mixture. The reason why you drink water ahead of time is because you're not going to be drinking water for several hours afterwards. So make sure you have water. But if you had drunk a glass of water, that means your stomach was already empty, right? Because we drink water when our food has already been digested, right? So if you have food digested, don't drink water. And that means if you have food digesting in your stomach, don't take the charcoal olive oil. Wait till your stomach is empty. Okay? So, you drink water on an empty stomach, then 30 minutes later you take the olive oil charcoal mixture. You don't just wipe your mouth. You're gonna have a little black stuff, but just take a tissue, wipe your mouth. Wait for 2 hours. Because the olive oil is gonna do the job of coating the stomach and coating the ulcer or whatever problems you might have in your intestines. And it allows the charcoal to stick right there in the place that needs healing. It allows it to stay there and not be washed away. That's why we don't drink water afterwards.
How long?
About 2 hours would be good if you have to take it during the day. But if it's at night, it's really good because you can spend the whole night without drinking water and you can allow it to do its work in your digestive organs. So definitely if you have pain, take it at night before you go to sleep. But if you have it during the day as well, you can also take it when you on an empty stomach and after you drink water, 30 minutes after you drink water. Now, for people who start eating fruit, but they still feel that pain, then Mrs. Choi suggests that they try some white rice porridge water. So actually, her daughter taught me this yesterday. So you'll cook white rice porridge and have plenty of liquid in there. Cook it for a long time so it's completely cooked. And then you will separate, you will drain out the liquid. Don't eat the porridge part and just drink the liquid. So let's just say that you have taken one piece of apple with the peel cut off when you're transitioning from water fasting to fruit fasting. Does that make sense? Typically when we eat fruit on a normal fruit fast or just to eat for supper, and we have apple or guava. Yes. Yes. Let me explain in detail. Okay. So when we are normally eating fruit for a fruit dinner or for a full fruit fast amount, we will eat the whole, not the whole apple, but the apple with the peel because it's edible. Okay? Guava too, because the peel is edible, we will eat it during our fruit fast and during our fruit meals. However, when you are on a water fast and you're transitioning to a fruit fast, the very first amount of fruit that you eat is about 1/4 the amount of the regular fruit that you eat. Right? Some of you have experienced this. Now, because you've been water fasting for a while and you're transitioning to eat fruit, you not only eat 1/4 of the amount of fruit, you also peel the outside of the apple or peel the outside of the guava because that is harder to digest. So this whole process of recovery meals, whether it's recovery with the fruit or it's recovery with the recovery meals, is all to help the digestion. I try to ask everyone, how does your stomach feel? Because if you feel uncomfortable after you start doing the recovery process, then we can make some adjustments. We can give some recommendations. Okay? But for fruit, again, whole food. So if it's edible, even with the peel, we eat it. Normally, when we're not doing recovery, okay? Apple, we can eat the outside, the skin. Guavas, we can eat the skin. Bananas, we cannot eat the skin. Watermelon, we cannot eat the skin, so we don't. But if you can, if it's edible, eat it. There's a lot of nutrients in it. All right, any questions so far? Oh, one more thing. For those people who have problems with ulcers, there are some times that Mrs. Choi will say that instead of doing fruit, because they still have pain, they will have them eat the white rice porridge for a few days. And that will help because it's so easily digestible.
Excuse me.
Yes, question.
A while ago you were telling us that we have to mix charcoal with cold pressed olive oil, 1 teaspoon of that olive oil.
Okay, no. So one more time, the olive oil charcoal mixture. So 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of charcoal. Let me write it down. So one big tablespoon. And 1 little teaspoon. And so you know that the charcoal is not just regular charcoal that you get from a burning log. It's that activated charcoal that's created for these kind of purposes. Okay, any other questions? Actually, my cousin, he's not a practicing Adventist, so he's not heard about charcoal. And so when I told him that he should take charcoal because he had some stomach problem, he said, "What kind of charcoal? Where are you getting it from?" And so his mother had to explain, no, it's not the charcoal from the fire. It's a special activated charcoal. Now, when you have indigestion or when you have diarrhea, you can take charcoal powder with water. No olive oil. The olive oil is just needed for people who have ulcers. Okay? So if you have indigestion or diarrhea, you can take 1 small teaspoon of charcoal and put it inside some water, maybe just half a cup of water, mix it well, drink it. And then drink a lot of water after that, because this water with charcoal is going to be flushing through our body, through the organs, to clean out whatever is causing the problems. So when you're drinking just charcoal with water, you need lots of water. But when you're taking charcoal with olive oil, you need no water. Okay, is that clear? Okay. If you have any questions, you can always ask me, or you can watch the lecture again on YouTube. Sorry?
The digestion problem, just drink charcoal water.
Yeah, if you have indigestion, you can drink charcoal water. If you have diarrhea, you can drink charcoal water. Like about one teaspoon, 1 small teaspoon. Yeah. And you can take it once or twice a day, morning and evening. Okay, any other questions so far? Okay, let's talk about fruits. There are some fruits that we do not use for fruit fasting, even though I'm sure you wish you could have these kind of fruits. We don't use durian for fruit fasting. We don't use avocado for fruit fasting. And, I've become a little bit more cautious to use jackfruit for fruit fasting, because actually several people have told me that they have some problems with with jackfruit. They have some bad reaction, or they are unable to digest it. So I try to avoid jackfruit. But remember, the fruit fasting process is similar to the water fasting process in that it helps to clean out all the waste that's in the body. And like Mrs. Choi said today, fasting does not heal you. All it does is it cleans out the waste in your body so then your body can be ready to receive the good nutrients. And it can begin the process of restoration back to the way that God intended it to be. Why not avocado? Avocado is very high in fat, just like durian, right? It doesn't have a lot of liquid, a lot of moisture. So all the fruits that we take have a lot of moisture. So it's similar to the water fasting, but fruit has fiber and some glucose. Okay, now we're going to talk about the difference between tree fruits and vegetable fruits. Now I'm going to use red because I think it's easier to wipe off. Okay, the reason why we distinguish between tree fruits and vegetable fruits is because of the principle of not mixing fruits and vegetables. So we do not mix fruits, and let me just say tree fruits plus raw vegetables. So we do not mix tree fruits with raw vegetables. Okay. But we can mix tree fruits with cooked vegetables. And this is all because of digestion. So we can have tree fruits with cooked vegetables. Some people have questions about this, so it takes a little while, but I'll try to explain it the best I can. So tree fruits versus vegetable fruits. Okay, tree fruits are the fruits that are grown on the tree. The tree grows, and it grows for many years, and each year it produces fruit. Okay, so we have apples, oranges, durian, jackfruit, lychee, rambutan. Anything else? Mango. What's that? I said apples. What? Pears.
What about kiwi?
Kiwi is a vine fruit, but yeah, that's kind of an unknown one. I'm gonna put, there's some fruits that are a little bit kind of in between. Bananas, I'm gonna put in between here. Papaya, I'm gonna put here. Grapes is a totally different category, so I'll put that here. I'll talk about grapes later. Okay, what other fruits do we have that grow on trees? Mangosteen.
Guava.
I don't have guava. Thank you. Guava. Apricots. Peaches. Longan. Persimmons. Okay, etc., etc. You get the idea, right? Okay. Now let's talk about vegetable fruits. Vegetable fruits are the fruits that grow on the vine, and it is a new plant each year. So, for example, tomatoes is considered a vegetable fruit. Cucumbers. Also, strawberries are considered a vegetable fruit. Watermelon. Melon. Cantaloupe. Here in Thailand, there's something that they call some kind of gooseberry. Like when it's ripe, it's yellow on the inside, and it has like a little paper-like cover on the outside. Have you ever tasted that?
Yeah.
So good. It looks like a tomato, kind of. What is it called?
Cape gooseberry.
Cape gooseberry? Okay, good. I love those. But anyway, that's a vegetable fruit. Okay, is there anything else that I'm missing here?
What about pumpkin?
Yeah, pumpkin is kind of, but technically, is a pumpkin, right? Scientifically, is a fruit, but we consider it part of the carbohydrate family. Yeah. Okay, I was going to say something. Pineapple. Pineapple is a yearly fruit. Okay, so now in this country, yeah, see, kiwis we don't really use a lot here, but in this country we have bananas, papaya, yeah. And so these are a little bit kind of controversial because it's not the same like a tree fruit, but it's not exactly like a vegetable fruit. But nonetheless, bananas, they grow once a year. You kick it over, and then there's a new shoot that comes up from underneath. And then papaya. But now here, I'll tell you what. What's that? Huh? Yeah, papayas grow on a tree, but it's not like an apple tree like an apple tree. It's like a very thin tree, right? And some of them can grow within 1 year, but sometimes they grow, I heard, in 5 years, 6 years, they continue to grow, right? So anyway, because Mrs. Choi is not familiar with these kind of fruits because they don't grow in Korea, she was not sure. So Mrs. Choi has a very sensitive digestive system, and so we can test food on her. And so we can give her the meal and put some papaya there, and then we can ask her, oh, did you have indigestion? She said no. So, okay, good. So then I think for papaya, we can put it in the vegetable fruit category. Bananas too. Oh, yeah, it seems to be okay. All right, let's put it here in this category. But some of these are sweet, right? And so the ones that are sweet, I always tell you, eat that first. The reason why we eat those fruits that are sweet first before you eat any other part of the meal is because the digestion and absorption of these sweets are completed in the intestines, not in the stomach. So if you eat all of your food first, and then you eat these sweet foods on top, it's going to stay in your stomach, not being digested, because it hasn't reached the intestines yet. And so by the time it's waiting up there, it can start to spoil and rot in your stomach. And so that's why they say, eat any kind of sweet fruits at the beginning of the meal. And you don't have to eat it 30 minutes before the meal. You don't have to eat it just before the meal. Let me finish the entire section about fruits because your questions might be answered by then. Okay, so now we are able to distinguish between tree fruits and vegetable fruits. Oh, one more thing, grapes. Grapes is in a separate category because grapes are easily fermentable. So grapes, I was told that we should not eat with any other fruit or any other food, any other food at all. So if you want to eat grapes, eat only grapes for a meal. Because if you mix it with other foods, it ferments very easily. Yeah, she said, how about raisins? And I asked that question too. Sometimes when we have salads or we have some kind of dishes, we put a little bit of raisins. Not exactly sure. Some I asked and then they said, well, it's not that much, so maybe it's not a big deal. But principle-wise, yeah, we shouldn't use the raisins. Okay. So I told you about not mixing tree fruits and raw vegetables. If you mix tree fruits and raw vegetables like salad or the plain vegetables, then it creates indigestion. And this is all for the purposes of digestion. Okay? The food needs to digest well so that we don't have any problems and all the nutrients can get into our bloodstream and go to all parts of our body. So, in our meals that we have, we've got the 5 elements. Again, we've got the grain, we've got the cooked main, we've got the cooked vegetable, we've got the salad, and we've got the raw. So now, if you've noticed in all our meals, we have all these things. And for the raw thing, this morning, do we have pineapple? So we had pineapple. It was a vegetable fruit, so it's okay. There are other things that we use that are raw vegetables, like bell peppers, or carrots, or what else? Jicama, different things that you would normally categorize as vegetables. But we can also use one of these vegetable fruits as our raw part of the meal. So sometimes we might have papaya there. So when you have that part in that meal, then eat the papaya first. Now let's say that we want to eat a tree fruit. We've got the delicious, I don't know what, mangoes. The mangoes are in season and I really want to eat mangoes for my meal. Okay, then we need to take out what? What do we need to take out if we want to eat mangoes for a meal? The raw and the salad, because the salad includes the raw vegetables, right? So I want to eat my mangoes together with my meal. Got my mangoes, got my grain, my cooked main, and my cooked veg. So then I eat my mangoes first, of course, because the mangoes are very sweet. Okay? The mangoes first, and then eat what's left. But again, don't cause yourself to overeat. If you're going to eat a mango, you might have to reduce the amount of other foods that you eat. So control your portions also. Okay, any questions about fruits and vegetables, mixing fruits and vegetables? Yes?
Just to confirm, vegetable fruits are raw vegetables?
Sorry?
The vegetable fruits?
Vegetable
Raw
fruits?
vegetables
Are they the raw vegetables?
that you say?
We can eat raw.
Yeah, you can consider them as raw. Just think of these vegetable fruits as vegetables. Just like we would think of carrots, eggplant, sprouts, what? Celery. Vegetables. I don't know, pumpkin. What else do we use? Zucchini. Broccoli. So the vegetable fruits are together in the family of vegetables. So when we make our meal, we consider it a vegetable. So then that means that when we have our raw salad and our raw thing for our meal, we can use any of these together. Does that make sense? All right. Any other questions? Okay. Now, we can determine how much of a fruit we can eat based on how easy it is to eat it. An apple, we can determine how much, the quantity, amount of fruit that we can eat based on how easy it is for us to eat it. For example, an apple, we can just from the tree, wash it, and eat it right away. That means we can eat freely of apples. But the durian, how do you have to get into it? You have to wear these thick gloves, and you have to make a big knife. You have to cut it, and you have to stretch it out, and you need muscles to open it. That means we should eat nit noi, just a little bit. So you have different kinds of nuts. Peanuts is very easy. You just pop open, split the shell like this, and you can eat them, right? But how about something like a macadamia nut or a cashew Whoa, I heard that they're very, very tough shelled. You have to have a special tool. You have to crack it open. So since it's that hard to get into it, that means we should eat less. Okay? It makes sense, right? God is brilliant. He's the genius above all geniuses. He made things for us because He knew we need that kind of wisdom. But the thing is, if we buy everything from the grocery store, we don't know. You know, I didn't know how the cashew looked like on the tree before this last year. Somebody posted a picture on Facebook, and I said, whoa, a cashew looks like this? There's a little apple that looks like a rose apple, and then on the bottom there's like one cashew, and it's covered with a hard shell. I didn't know. I thought cashew just came in the box or the bag in the grocery store. Right? So if we go back to the natural, the original that God gave us, then we can know how much we should eat.